tried to start the stream and it crashed, but everything came back up, so hopefully I'm good. I've been doing these at midnight the last 2 nights, and I wanted to start a little bit earlier tonight. It's been an exhausting couple of weeks for me. Been busy, um, but I'm super happy with um, being busy when I've got the kids, especially. Um, Usually I have them every other week, and their dad took them last weekend, but he needed me to watch them a second week in a row. So um, it's been really cold in the mornings. It's been pretty cold during the days too, but we've actually got a tiny little bit of snow uh, recently, just a little bit in the valley in some places. And I drop the kids off early, and then I usually start work right away. So it's pretty darn cold at 8 o'clock in the morning. But we had a beautiful October. It was unusually warm most of the month, and yeah, I think I'm ready for winter time. It gets so hot here in the summer, so we get all the seasons here. It's pretty nice. My dog wants to walk around and be all nervous. Here, lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Relax. Relax. I gotta get the dogs used to me talking to myself at the computer. Um, when I have the kids, I've been trying to do these streams after I get them to bed, because I'm working during the day, um, and then I pick them up after school, and we we goof off. They don't usually have too much homework. It's usually just me asking my oldest to read, and keeping them happy till bedtime. And then I read to my son before bed to get him to sleep. And we've been reading a book called The Chocolate Touch. Let's see. The Chocolate Touch. It was written in the 1950s. This kid, John Midas. So I read the beginning to my son, and he's like, "Oh, the Midas touch, like the myth." So he's 8, and I think he's exceptionally smart for an 8-year-old. It's really fun. But he was asking me about that myth, and Midas, everything he touches turns to gold. And so in The Chocolate Touch, this boy loves chocolate, and everything that touches his mouth turns to chocolate. And he starts to get sick of it. He wants real food, finally. So it's a good story for little kids that like to eat junk food, maybe. But I read that when I was little, and I do love that about being a mom, like getting to reread books that I read and loved when I was a kid. And I was a big reader when I was young, and I thought I would read just the first page of this book. I read a couple lines from it last night, but this is Revelation rather, Revelation, The Future Human Past by Dr. Michael P. Masters. And this is page 1. I wondered what makes us human, our bipedalism, our brains, our adept linguistic ability emerging out of these massive cortices, of all the other species drifting aimlessly through space on the inbred island of Earth. How has this horny, hairless ape risen to supremacy? Fucking and fighting might be the simple answer, but nothing is simple, not anymore. Civilization without civility, an intergenerational house of cards. Empires rise and fall, but nothing is realized, nothing changes. Ravening politico-religious despots salt and scorch the earth as the hungry wither, the thirsty turn to dust, and the chosen ones burn in the hell of their own creation. They vie for power in their own time and that of the future, sowing seeds of mind and body, ensuring the survival of their successes in the chromosomal culture of those who inherit their avarice. But what now? This must surely be the decisive cycle, the final countdown, the great filter. Earlier iterations of the political lek were primordial staging grounds for this unfurling chaos, but the arena is larger now, and the dances are blanketed in fire. Empathy is unattainable. This is unsustainable. So, wow, I thought that was appropriate. I'm not going to read entire books on my streams, but I did want to read that passage, and I've been talking about a few different things the last 2 nights. I didn't really have a format for tonight, but I did have another quote by Charles Bukowski. I recently read a few of his books for the first time, and the quote is, "Small men rant at things they cannot do." But, everybody was freaking out today after the election, and, as people do, we freak out. But, I'm trying to be chill. I'm just trying to keep things, for me, I want to focus on what I can change, what I can do. I have a lot of my own responsibilities, at home and with work, and so they're pretty basic. I don't have a very important job, but I'm important to my employers and my customers, and I was mentioning just how nice it feels to have somebody want to offer you a tip, right? And it might not be very much money, but we have an app that allows us to receive tips that way, so they can be claimed easily and keep track of all that. And it's nice because I don't even see most of these customers face to face. Most of the time I'm walking around in people's backyards and walking through neighborhoods, and I don't see that many people. And I listen to podcasts, and I listen to audiobooks and music, and sometimes I just listen to, the birds and the airplanes and whatever noises are going on around me. But usually I have my headphones on, and I just get to sort of zone out. I think it's kind of like a walking meditation. I'll get a sudden those eureka moments where I can solve a problem without even thinking about it. There will just be some solution come to me, remembering the grocery list, whatever it is. And I found myself to be in a more like even keel state. I don't get caught up in a bunch of highs and lows throughout the day. But today I kind of had a freak out moment because when I picked my daughter up from school, she said her teacher told her that now that Trump got elected, Elon Musk would become the vice president. And I thought, what? What the fuck? Like, why is she telling kids that? Like, 11, 12-year-old kids. Why are you telling them this shit? I just thought that was fucking ridiculous. But CJ came by. He's in the live chat. Glad to see you here. Yeah, I'm pretty tired too, man. So if you fall asleep, no problem. I'm just trying to work out my get my voice back for these. So it's meant a lot that you've been checking these out. To be honest, I'm embarrassed. Like, this is really hard for me. And I'm trying to push through that, you know? But I almost prefer that, like, nobody watch them and judge me. It's like, don't look at me, don't look at me. But it means a lot that I have had you on my in my chats during the live streams. So thank you, CJ. If you don't stick through it, I understand. I hope you have a great evening. Get some sleep. I've been needing to go to sleep early, but, you know, I just get kind of a second wind after the kids go to sleep. I remember things that I need to do. Do some laundry, do some dishes, you know, read, do my journal, whatever. I've been typing some stuff out because I hadn't been typing for a couple of years. I just write in a notebook, or I write notes on my phone. Sometimes I write cheesy poems or, you know, stupid jokes that I think of. But I've been trying a new thing where I just kind of free write typing, and that's been pretty cool. So I'm just practicing different ways to get my voice out there where, you know, I'm not just rambling, like attempting to be in conversation with somebody and controlling the conversations. You know, I like this because I just get to talk freely and see what comes to mind. But for the streams, I really need to figure out how to get different scenes built into OBS. And I want to play around with a little more production value, but for now I'm really just trying to get comfortable doing these again and finding out just what comes out, what pops into my head. The dog was cool last night, but he's a little bit riled up now, so sorry about that. Peace out, CJ. Thank you. But yeah, man, you know, a lot of times I think I kind of live in my own little la la land. And, you know, I used to get a lot more riled up about things when I was younger. And I still do. Like, especially when it comes to things with the kids. And, you know, the dogs. They make me very anxious, especially when they're chewing shit and acting badly and barking at nothing. I definitely get perturbed. I lose my shit sometimes. Hey, come here. Come here. Uh-oh, both the dogs are gonna come here now. But, I just listened to an audiobook of, I've been talking about Bruce McDonald a lot lately. I just found him, and I reached out to him, and he sent me a copy of his audiobook for The Light of Darkness by Robert Wygand. It's his story. He and Bruce wrote the book together, but it's really an account from Robert. And I think, if you haven't been paying attention to stuff and you're just really living in La La Land, like Normie Land, and you're not paying attention to what is dubbed the conspiracy theory world, which I think is mostly, that in itself is a trap and a lie, because it's not even a conspiracy theory. We know there's this dubious shit going on. It's facts, But I think if you're a newbie and you listen to or read The Light of Darkness, everything in it, you would be like, whoa, what the fuck? Really? No way. But I've been studying this stuff for a long time. So Bruce, he's like, well, be prepared, because it's pretty hard to listen to, and it still is. Like, I don't think I've been completely desensitized to things. I think it's very well articulated, even if you know kind of what's up. It's still like, holy shit. It's fucked up. I still think that, but I think it's really sort of, I hate to say this, it's not offensive. I don't mean it to be offensive, but it is kind of elementary in a way. If you're just totally not aware of stuff. But it's a good foundation. And I still did learn some things, especially just the cohesive, like, narrative of just one person's experience, his sort of direct experience. And I think true intelligence is kind of a combination of things. You have to be willing to, I think sometimes people are compelled to do things that make them a little uncomfortable. There's some kind of drive initially, that just because of curiosity, and seeking. And you have to be willing to try things and get yourself into interesting experiences. You have to be able to learn from others' experiences. That's why we read, because if you had to experience everything yourself, it would take many lifetimes to do that. So that's why, even historical fiction can be good, because you get some context for a time period that you didn't get to live in, right? And you can't believe everything as literal. That's why we have myths and legends and fables and folklore and all of that. But it's so funny. I've been listening to Bruce McDonald recently, and he's saying a lot of things that he's saying a lot of things that I've thought myself. So it's really nice. I mean, we definitely have some different perspectives. We've lived different lives, different education level, I get embarrassed doing this because I feel that I'm not really that educated. But then I listened to an entire audiobook in like 24 hours, and I realized, wow, okay, I have been studying a lot of these things that he's talking about. I have been doing my homework, so maybe I shouldn't feel so bad. Hi, Mark. Great. So yeah, I don't have to feel so dumb because I realize there's a lot of people that don't know what the hell is going on. And so I was really relieved to listen to the. I was late starting this stream because Bruce was doing a stream real quick, uh, as he tends to do almost every day. And every time he talks, he's talking about something I was just thinking about. It's been crazy. And he says there are no coincidences. So I think it's really cool. It's funny, I had been on this Discord for, I don't know, over a year. And he's in that Discord group, and I'd never seen him participate because it's kind of a wacky bunch of weirdos. But Bruce McDonald, he was actually a member of this one Discord channel server I'm on, and another lady in that group told me about him, and I was like, oh, I've heard of his name, but I've never listened to him before, and um, I think he really inspired me to just get my shit together and start doing these. Like now, I've been kind of putting it off for a few weeks since I set up my computer. But my friend Mark says there aren't any weirdos on Discord. No, they're all on like 4chan and stuff, right? I don't know. I'm kind of a old lady. I don't know what all these kids are into on the internet. My daughter has to tell me about all this shit, and it's like it's horrifying to learn things from my kid because she knows so much, and I feel like, oh no, you're too young to know these things, and it's a little uncomfortable, but I try and I don't know, keep an open dialogue with her. Like, I want her to trust me. And, oh man, so speaking of weirdos, like, I've been going out to these local band shows, and these are just at tiny little bars. And it is the best people watching because there's just so many different kinds of weirdos, and I've been meeting them all in real life, and it's fun because I'm one of them. But one of the reasons I named this stream "Don't Call Me, I Won't Call You" is because I've been going out, and people are trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm into like banter and stuff like that, but oh man, I do not want to like hook up with people at these places. That's not what I'm there for. And it's been really weird because I've been having to be like, okay, thank you, but no, not really, you know, not looking to have a serious thing or just a hookup, or not looking for a stepdad for my kid or anything like that. So, but it's been flattering, but it's weird. I'm not comfortable with it. But my friends play in some bands, and they're doing their own original music. I think occasionally they'll play a cover song, maybe in their own way, but most of it is original music. And they're pretty good. It's good music. The venues are pretty small. Um, they have nice little dedicated following of people that go out to the same shows. So I've been getting to know some new people. And Salt Lake, luckily, it's big enough. It's a small, uh, small-ish place, but actually, I live so close to my high school, and I am super relieved that I don't run into people I know very often. Um, And recently I had totally like cut out of my life my two friends that I was still hanging out with occasionally from high school. Uh, they they never had kids, and we would we would get together for like birthdays every few months, and that was it. And they had their own lives with all their old, like all their other professional friends, and they'd never include me in uh that like group for, you know, 20 years. They haven't included me in this other group of friends. They just want to go to brunch every few months. So they haven't been really that great of friends, you know. And I don't have any hard feelings against them, but a few months ago I was just in one of these moods that I get into where I was like full on hermit mode. And, you know, I was like, fuck this. I really don't want to just deal with this kind of bullshit with people that are pretending to be my friends. I just didn't really feel any kind of love from them at all. They weren't mean to me exactly, but I just felt like, I don't know. And maybe I'm fucked up. I just blocked their numbers out of the blue one day. Do the kids call that ghosting? And I never heard from them. They never, you know, my friend, she has my email. The catalyst to this was actually, we'd gone to brunch. She told me she'd been writing a story, and I've always been trying to write stories. And her and we were always in the same classes all through high school. And she went into like the actual journalism programs, and I went into working in broadcasting as like a grunt in college. Even before college, I was working for the Jumbotron crew at the Utah Jazz, and then my freshman year of college, I worked for a video service on campus, and I would have to go to classes and be like their audio visual tech person. So my first year of college, I worked at Jumbotron crew at Jazz, and at the basketball games at the U. And I would walk around campus, and I would have some of them, I would have a VHS camcorder that I would set up and record classes before they did streaming. I'd have to bring back the VHS tape of the class, and then it would get dubbed and get sent off to, you know, somebody that was a graduate student in Ogden or whatever. So I'd sit in on these like 6,000 level engineering classes every class session. That was my work shift, you know. So I did that kind of work. Meanwhile, my friend is all into the journalism and wanted to be a producer, and I got a job at the news station running cameras in the studio, and she got a job as a producer. And so for years, I just feel like, you know, she had more ambition, she had more focus, and I always was very proud of her and appreciated her skill set. And I remember asking her to like read my writings, ask if she would edit them, and she would be too busy. And I get it, like totally understand that. But the last time we went to breakfast, she said she had written a book, I guess a short book, and that her friend had read it and that her friend loved it. And so at brunch, I said, hey, I can't wait to read that. I'm so excited for you. And I emailed her and I texted her and I said, please send me your story. I love to read it. I'm so super proud of you. And nothing. She just ignored me for a couple weeks, and so that's that's why I blocked her. I was butthurt, and I haven't heard from either of these friends since then, since like February. And then today, I'm driving around town. I see my one girlfriend two different times driving around in her car around Salt Lake, and I noticed her twice, and she didn't notice me. Um, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I had already been thinking about naming this stream "Don't Call Me," because I don't want to go out with these dudes that are just hitting on me at the bar, you know. Um, and I don't want friends that, you know, for whatever reason, they make me feel like shit. I mean, for years they've been giving me crap about, you know, oh, you're out in the weeds with your career, and it's like, well, you know, my ambition's a little bit different, and I've been trying to tell them about the things that I read about, that I study, you know. I read years ago. I read John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and I think that book is one of the reasons I couldn't let these topics go, because you're like, oh wow, the USA, we're kind of the assholes too. Wow. That was one of my first clues, but it just kind of went down the rabbit hole from there. And you know, it's really shitty. Like, I lost my jobs because I didn't want to get vaccinated. My husband's family didn't want to see us for 2 years. And I thought, well, I got through a lot of that stuff. And then, you know, you realize, like, wow, people that have known you for over 20 years, like, they're still questioning, like, why, you know, why wouldn't I want to get shots? And why would I question these you know, the medical industry? And a lot of people I know that have bought all into that stuff, it breaks my heart, because in principle, I want people to be able to make their own choices. Like, I don't want to judge people for their choices exactly, but I can't help it anymore now. I can't help but judge them, because they're not connecting the dots that, like, this is why you have had chronic illnesses for years and you're the same age as me. And these are people that haven't even have kids. Like, they say having kids wrecks your body. You know, I had 2 kids very easily. Like, that didn't wreck me. And I never get sick. I occasionally get, you know, some little symptoms, especially when the weather changes, but it doesn't take me down. Like, I never call out sick. And that's why my supervisor loves me. And if I need to take an afternoon off early, she doesn't care, because I will always cover every other day for all the people I work with, all my coworkers that thankfully I never really have to interact with them. We all work solo, but my supervisor's always telling me about call outs and people getting sick. My kid goes to speech therapy. His therapist just got sick really bad, and I'm sure she's probably had like 8 doses of this thing. And I've just heard about people getting the double, you can get both of those at the same time, the flu and the other one. You can get 2 of those shots at the same time. And there's all these commercials for it because it's football season, so it's prime time for the pharmaceutical commercials with, the celebrities and crap. And, I guess I'm pretty used to being, like, considered quirky and crazy, whatever. Okay, call me crazy. I don't care, really, but it still bugs me sometimes, because I feel like, and it's really cool, like, when you get affirmed by somebody else because they have the same position as you, like, that's one reason I really appreciate Bruce McDonald, because I sound like I'm repeating a lot of things I've heard him say on his podcast. I've only listened to him for like 2 or 3 days. I'd never heard any of his content before. And all the time in his audiobook and his podcasts that I've heard, and I've been listening to them all through my work days the last week, he's saying the same shit I've been thinking and talking about with a very few people. And it's affirming, but if I were just like totally alone, I think I'd be feeling really bad. And that seems to be the point of all this. The pressure of society, culture, whatever. It's the Milgram experiment, right? Like 80% of the people are going to just shock the shit out of the person in the other room because the authority is telling them to do it, and to not ask themselves, is this right to do? Should I do this? And I think 20% of people saying no is generous almost. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that's hard to decipher exactly, but that's about where they like break it up. Like 80% of the people are going to go along with it. 20% may question it or may say no. Well, I mean, they're so good at what they do. I'm sure there's still things that bamboozle me. And, for one thing, I'm like constantly on devices. I'm always listening to something. And I even forget that I have my headphones in when I don't even need them. But no, I think it is on us to educate ourselves, and it's also on us to like take a freaking break sometimes. I totally understand when my friends get overwhelmed and they just don't want to, socialize. They need to chill out. I mean, I'm like that way too. I need to rest. But I think you can be supportive of your friends still. Like, even when you're like, okay, you take your break, but I'm here for you when you need me, when you're ready to take a vacation. Like, let's do it, So, anyway, it's funny because Marconius, in my chat, my family's name is Marcosian, and that's tripping me out. Your name is like my family's name. And so this book, Light of Darkness, Bruce didn't know me. I just emailed him real quick, and I was like, hey, I really like your stuff. I'm looking forward to buying your books. And I've been listening to your podcast. And he was like, oh, well, I'll send you over a link to snag an audiobook for free. And he told me to start with this one in particular. And so he was like, warning, this might be shocking to you. And I said, well, my grandpa Marcosian, he would tell me about his family in Turkey being killed and his mother escaping and getting to the US as a bedtime story when I was like young, like 8, 9. And I said that to Bruce, and he's like, yeah, you'll be fine, you know? Um, so, I mean, I've been trying to learn about some of the harsh realities of the real world, even from uh, my cushy spot, because frankly, um, I am one of those soft, spoiled Americans, you know. But I think I could never get myself into the rat race. I just couldn't. And yeah, one of the weirdest people I saw out at the bar on Friday night was it's like it's rock and roll and punk bands that were playing, so there was a lot of leather, there was a lot of people with beards, and just like art, like some military people, um a whole mix of people really, but just more on the like I don't know. I don't know. But then there's this dude in a fucking suit with a mason pin on his lapel, and he's smoking a cigar and not even drinking. He's just drinking water and sitting by himself and smoking a cigar. And I went up to him because I'm like, man, you stick out. Like, what are you doing here? And he's like, yeah, I just come to smoke a cigar because, you know. And I'm like, well, cool, like, and I said, are you from Utah? And he said, no, I'm from New Jersey, and I've lived here for 30 years though. And I was like, oh, that's great. Did you come out to ski? and and uh and he said he just didn't like the rat race on the East Coast. It was just too much. And I said, oh, it's not a rat race out here. And he's like, no, not at all. And but I did not want to be part of the rat race whatsoever. I saw what it was, and I was a very low level person, working in sports broadcast, especially seeing all that money. And that kind of bothered me ethically. Like, I would babysit the announcers during a broadcast, and I would work for all the teams that came to play for the Utah Jazz and NBA, and then I'd work for some of the other sports leagues, like soccer, and we just got a NHL hockey team in Utah this season. I worked some games that they would play, like preseason hockey, before we even had a team. Like San Jose would come out and play some preseason games at our arena, and I worked those a couple times. But anyway, I mean, I still would probably be doing that kind of work, if it weren't for like the vaccines, and then having a break from that gig. I just appreciated that I didn't have to work every single night and weekend, or I didn't have to accept every job offer that came through and feel obliged to do that so that they would keep calling me. Like, that's kind of the gig. If you're a freelancer in that world, you have to say yes, or else people might not ever ask you again, And I would always say yes for years and years. I did FIS, Freestyle International Skiing events at our old Olympic venues. They kept the Olympic venues maintained, so they would do a lot of those events out here, and I'd be driving up to Park City in a freaking blizzard to get there at 6 a.m. and shit, my job was easy compared to like everybody else that had to set up and tear down. um, and travel. You know, I knew I didn't want to travel for broadcast work because that's what my stepdad did, and he was never home. And it was terrible for our family. But even working locally, and once my kids got older, it was like, do I really want to work every single night and every weekend? So I'm glad. I'm glad for the bad shit that happens that you can survive it, and it gives you some perspective, some clarity. But, you know, it's unfortunate, like, that people that are trying to educate themselves, we get made fun of because they say, like, doing your own research, like, it's a bad thing. That's ridiculous. And one of the things that Bruce McDonald has been saying is the inversion. You know, the inversion of the truth. Everything's bizarro world upside down. So, yeah, we're the crazy ones because we care. It's really sad. And I think I'm a little bit timid sometimes, but I don't want to be. Yeah. And I know Mark gets it, and I'm so glad that I've had like at least some very few but solid people to talk about this, because it does affirm, like, oh no, you know, you're not entirely crazy, maybe a little bit, but nothing like the folks that just won't hear it. And I am no Trumper, okay? I keep saying that. Like, this shit is bizarro world. And it's awful that he was like the only choice, because the other side had gone so far off like the deep end. Like it still, I don't necessarily have high hopes for any way that it would have turned out, okay? But it's just insane, like. And my parents, like, they are both on there's like the perfect clear cut, like, red and blue positions, and they basically parrot exactly those two different positions, and I've always been in the middle of that. And yeah, it's not a good sign to to be like, oh yay, because we had, like, they always say the lesser of two evils. Like, I don't know that that was actually the case at all. I don't know that there was a lesser of two evils, except for me personally. I just thought, well, one is much more of a buffoon than the other, but they're both fucking clowns, in my opinion. So I know people were just like, they were having like very high emotions today, whether it be for the comedy, or people were just totally breaking down. I don't know. And again, I'm just glad I've been able to do these streams because it just helps me kind of get my thoughts flowing. I don't want it to always be heavily political, but yeah, eventually I'm gonna set up to do calls or whatever. I have OBS set up just for one scene. I don't have any way of taking calls right now, but my buddy who's in the chat, he's gonna help me set that up if I can't figure it out on my own this week. I'm gonna make him produce my show for me. But yeah, I think that it's important that we at least get over some of our fears of talking about things out loud, even to just a few people. Like, I'm not going to be some big podcast. There's no fucking way that I would even want to be. And I still don't think that being small will keep you hidden anymore. But I kind of decided that I was willing to take just a little bit of risk at getting myself out there again, and getting back into these streams after I took a year-long break. But I did over 100 videos on this channel. I changed the name of it a little bit, but if you were subscribed before, then it's still, or if you're watching this channel now, you can see all the old videos that I did on this channel. I've only ever had one main channel that I started in 2022. And I'd like to just be able to talk about whatever, just free flow. It'd be great to just talk to other normal people that just want to share their perspectives. Imagine like people just having some discourse and speaking freely without trying to sell something, or be clearly just pushing some kind of agenda, whether they're aware of it or not, that they're just parroting something. I mean, I tend to think that's the saddest thing of all. Like, if the people are getting paid by these special interests to say these things, it's like, okay, well, at least you're getting rich, and you know that you're just propagating whatever position. I think what's really sad is the folks that are doing it for free. They're spewing all the same propaganda on their Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and Facebook, and like they can't even realize how compromised their minds have become. And that's the other word of the decade, compromise. Fuck, decades, that's been the game. So I feel like if I ever did get famous or rich, that would suck, because then I would be totally compromised. Hey, come here, stop it. Chips is mad at the late night dog walkers. He doesn't like it. Hey, stop. You're loud on the mic, bro. Anyways, but yeah, I've been shooting for doing these talks for just about an hour, and oh my god, it's so embarrassing, but I'm gonna keep doing them because it's important. It's important to me to just fucking figure out how. For me, I want to be authentic. I want to be able to look my kids in the eyes for the rest of their lives, the rest of mine, and say, hey, I tried. I might have been wrong about something, plenty of things, but I tried. I tried to be engaged, and I think it is nearly impossible to know the truth about everything, because there is so much that is intentionally hidden from us. It's like they know that we're going to be talking about these conspiratorial ideas, and so they're going to put the fake stuff out there and see what crazy positions the truthers run with, and that's my latest. I've leveled up because I've learned to kind of sift through the truthers that are clearly like just taking some talking points from some, like, I don't know, false position, just to trick people, like I think they do try to modify the weather, but I don't think they can entirely control it. Not necessarily. I don't believe in Dane Wigington is one of those guys that I think is a total grifter. So I think, it's very dangerous to believe anything. I think you have to, go with your guts and stuff. But I think it's okay to realize, oh man, I was kind of duped by that person. And the only good thing about it, these crazy ass times where everybody's parroting stuff, is you kind of know. People will start talking, they'll say 5 words, and you'll kind of know, oh, all right, they're not really worth discussing these things at all with, because they don't want to discuss anything. They don't want to go into nuance. They don't want to get deeper into things. A lot of these issues I personally have is when, like the hyperbole, it's okay to say, well, it's possible that there's this, and this, but we cannot know for sure because we are purposefully being misled. And we're clearly, it's not even about having any kind of like access to classified information, because all that information has been compartmentalized forever. It's always been about compartmentalizing things, and there's very few that actually know what is really going on. But I do want to discuss these things in the sense of, like, oh my god, I forgot about this until just now. My son, when I was driving them to school today, he's like, Mom, where were you during 9/11? And I was like, what? They love to create those moments of that. It's almost like how they can keep hold of everybody. It's like grabbing onto the reins, pulling on the dog leash. They need those moments in time, those things that happen, that they planned and controlled and set up as a tragedy, a random tragedy. And we remember, we remember where we were at when that happened. And man, I thought it was funny today. I didn't watch too much of it, but there was one video that was everywhere where the lady was just freaking out in her car about the election. There's people that, are certain that they need to leave the U.S. I think if we were really smart, we would have left the U.S. years ago and would be living on the mountain in Costa Rica like Bruce had done. But I've always kind of thought, it sucks to just like abandon your home. I always felt like, in that kind of idealist way, like, oh, but I need to stay. Like, I have a sense of not like national pride or something, but I need to stay, because if we just leave, then isn't that just letting them win? And I don't know. I kind of wish I could leave, like, and go somewhere remote, but that's one of the most terrible things about what happened in North Carolina is, like, around Asheville, those little communities in the mountains, that was the highest concentration of off-grid people in the whole country. And it's weird because I did just watch that movie Civil War, and it was a very odd premise because it was like Texas, California, and North Carolina, like they all seceded, and I thought, fucking California, like, but I guess it makes sense, except for the LA and Bay Area, like there are a lot of rural people in California. It's a huge fucking population of people. But I just thought that was a funny thing because what does California have, like 50, 54, 55 electoral college votes, and there's tons of Republicans there, but they always go blue. So how does this fucking shit even work? Like, if people are still now saying we need to save democracy, like we were never a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. So it th- these propaganda terms are just ridiculous, you know. Kamala using campaign slogans straight from Karl Marx, direct quotes from Karl Marx, like unburdened by what has been. Give me a break. She's been a clown in charge for 4 years. Yeah. And they were never voted by the people. So to call out people for Obama to call out all black people. Oh, if you don't vote for the black woman, that's insane. And it's so sad because I grew up with friends of all colors and religions. You know, 30 years ago, I had such a diverse group of friends. So to think like, okay, really? We're playing these games now? This doesn't make sense. It's just sad. I think it just speaks to how dumb they think we are. And I think mostly we're proving how fucking stupid we are. If you read anything people post on social media, like this guy, I don't agree with his politics whatsoever, but he seemed to be like sort of smart and articulate, and he was like, oh, well, we haven't had a democracy for 40 years. I'm like, you never did, bro. So some people I just feel like we shouldn't even argue with. It's better to just observe them so you know, like, okay, I will not engage. I get more riled up with folks that I agree with. And a lot of what I just said, like, I've been thinking, and Bruce McDonald said it the last couple days on his streams too. Like, so I think there's a difference between parroting the propaganda and then being sort of tuned in with similar ideas and finding those people and saying, yeah, like, why aren't more people asking these questions? Why aren't more people saying these real things? It's confusing. And broadcast television, Mark says, shaped the theater of White House voting we know of. Yeah, I mean, that was a thing. I worked in the newsroom, and I just ran a fucking camera. You know, I worked the morning show, and then I would do sports events in the evenings, and but my friend I was talking about, she worked as a producer in the newsroom, and they would get so amped up for election night, like, and it was just a local station. I can't imagine like the circus of working these local news stations now. It's a joke. But I used to be an idealist, you know. That I thought there was like some hope, at least at the local level. I thought that was some hope, but not that I'm entirely hopeless, um, but yeah, I've definitely realized like, oh, okay, yeah, I was bamboozled, and that's a shitty feeling, you know, not just finding out the truth, because the truth can be really awful and hard to take, but then you think, oh man, I bamboozled myself. I hate that. You know, that's really the salt on the wound. But you know, that's kind of the thing I'm trying to do right now, is like, let's kind of try and keep our spirits up a little bit, knowing that we're not the only ones um, that are thinking about these things and asking these questions, and we're not grifting about it. Like, Bruce has some books and he talks about his books, um, but he's not a grifter, in my opinion, in my observation. Um, he's compelled by something else. I can't speak to what that is, but he certainly comes he certainly comes out to me as authentic. And there's some things he discusses that I don't know anything about, but I'd be willing to hear about it from him, because he comes off to me as just wanting to share the information. And it is clear that there's people that they don't really want to work a day job. I don't mind it. You know, I think, yeah, of course, like, I wish that I could, sometimes I wish I could have things a little bit easier, um, but right now I know I'm very fortunate. And I think gratitude it goes a hell of a long way to get you through those moments when you start to feel shitty about yourself, about your situation. And, I do reflect on how bad other people have it. That is one of my ways to cope, is to be like, well, damn, I really do have it pretty good. I have a home at least, and it might not be perfect, but um, there's people really struggling right now. And it's not just because they can't think for themselves, or they're sick and debilitated and can't work. There's a lot of things going against the people right now. They are actively trying to take everything from personal private ownership. So listen to these so-called leaders, because they do tell you the truth. That's why I don't understand why people don't listen to them. They don't hear what they're actually fucking saying out loud. It's ballsy. The hubris and the fucking balls they have. And yeah, Mark says it's not even a cope these days to play the at least game, because yeah, I mean, literally, you do have to appreciate whatever it is you have. It's really important. And it's frustrating. It's the thing where people love to play themselves the victim when they did that shit to themselves, and they're always doing that. And I think that's the other side of that conversation, is like, okay, well, not only does it make me feel better to appreciate like what I have, and that I'm aware of these things, and I'm not going to be caught off guard, and I'm not going to allow myself to be called a victim. I'm going to accept responsibility for whatever I have to, but I'm not going to accept responsibility for all of it. I feel like I got very used to being gaslighted. So once I realized, like, oh, okay, yes, there's other people that agree with you. And, you know, you read books, you listen to podcasts, you read just what these people are saying they're going to do. And then you watch them do it. Like passing laws, not helping victims of whatever natural disaster. I mean, I remember Katrina. I was in college and we were, fundraising for Katrina victims, and I read the books about that years later, the aftermath of Katrina, and I always felt like I was that kind of bleeding heart liberal kind of person. And now I'm like, Jesus, it's so inverted. The stuff the liberals say and do now when it comes to, the trans stuff especially, I'm really going to be hitting on that one for the next few years, because I have not only a personal stake in it, having children myself, but I just care about people. I always have. I was always the kid that would like stop whatever child was getting bullied. I would go and yell at the bully on behalf of somebody else. And then I'd get targeted a little bit, but then like my daughter has this skill too. I don't know if it's charisma or whatever, but we make friends with our former bullies. Like, we make friends with our enemies in the playground sense. And I always worked with a lot of like hard ass assholes. And, I learned how to deal with a lot of different kind of personalities just to get stuff done, But this new version of lib is really weird. I don't understand what would compel people to want to give their kids drugs to the puberty blocker drugs. And they've straight up lied about it and said that it's reversible, and it's fucking not reversible. Okay? And whether or not you cut off a kid's body parts, you're giving them sexual dysfunction for the rest of their lives. How does that serve your child? I'd rather my kid be mad at me now than when they're old and they can't enjoy any kind of sexual pleasure anymore because of puberty blockers. Just that. They don't have to do anything surgically. And that my position is because I care about those people. And then there's these freaks that are like, oh, Trump's gonna kill us. If Trump's in office, we're dead. No, I don't think most Republicans feel that way. I don't think most Republicans are just straight up bigots for no reason. And I think that's a lot of the propaganda that we're gonna need to watch out for from both sides. I don't think every liberal wants to transition kids either. But we can't just pretend like everything in the world is on social media. That does not represent everything in the world. Like, we do need to go and, have some real conversations with people one-on-one, even if it's online. Like, I've met some great friends remotely I've never gotten to see face to face yet, unfortunately. But you can tell when people are authentic, even through the phone or the computer. And then you can tell when people are just fucking spazzing out about these hyperbolic positions or whatever. So I just think, yeah, we have to look out for that. And so I'm so glad that that I got the guts to have some of these conversations publicly, because I know there'll be some backlash. I don't know if I'll directly have to face too much of it. But this is not my grift. Like, I'm not doing this to support myself in any way, except like it's therapeutic for me to do this. It feels good because I might reach just a few people, and I do like to laugh. That's my cope, is to laugh at the absurd. So I'm really glad to have shit talking friends too, but ones that are talking shit out of love. So all right. Well, I'm going to end the stream, but thank you so much. I think I'm going to keep trying to do these the next couple nights. And if I schedule one and I don't ever start it, then maybe I decided to go to sleep or whatever. But I'm going to try and fuck around with my studio here and figure out how to maybe get people to call in, and maybe Rachel Maddow will call me. That would be so cool. She's like my hero, my shiro. But yeah, I do have some really funny goofball friends that might call in, and I have some very serious, sweet friends that might call in as well. Oh, sweet. Mark, thank you. I didn't get your message before. But yeah, I'll check out Jitsi video. Sweet. Yeah. Mark knows what's up. He's gonna help me get this legit. I know this. Because he said so. So, yeah, I'm super fortunate. I have a lot of good things going for me. I'm very grateful. And yeah, thank you so much if you made it through any of this rambling.